do our exploitation, right? Then we report, right? Hold on, let me even share my screen. I'm going to share my entire screen. So let me know when you see my screen. All right.
Yeah, I see
Okay. All right. Okay, so like I said, these are the methodologies when it comes to penetration testing, right? Yes. So we do reconnaissance, like I mentioned last week. Reconnaissance is about knowing your targets, right? Understanding your targets, right? Of course, we have passive reconnaissance, right, and active reconnaissance. Passive is we do our findings without actually, interacting with the targets, right? While active, we do some kind of interactions, right? Then we go over scanning. Scanning is to detect something like open ports. And like I mentioned last week, ports are, they aid in communication between one computer and another, right? For example, for those of us maybe have something to do with servers in one time or the other, or trying to interact with some applications, right? From our networking tutorials, our networking class, we discussed ports, right? So yeah, so these ports, for example, for websites or web application, can be running on port 80 or port 443, which are HTTP and HTTPS, right? Yeah, so these open ports are kind of like a gateway to every system that aids systems, to communicate, right? That is why when you want to go into a server to do something like, for example, a Linux server, you do something like SSH. And SSH, SSH allows you to log into remotely into a Linux server, right, to perform any kind of operations. Okay, so these open ports are, they sometimes can be hosting some services, and some of these services might be outdated and vulnerable. So attackers always, try to attempt to break these open ports to, just to see what they can find or what they can get, if they can actually get into the system. All right, so we are going to see that in our lab where we'll try to exploit port 21, which is the FTP, file transfer protocol ports. Yes. All right, so after we've done all our scanning, we know what OS we are dealing with and all that. It's now time for us to do a vulnerability assessment. So based on the scanning that we've done, we can actually carry out some sort of vulnerability assessment. So we want to assess the vulnerability to see what vulnerabilities we can find in that particular target or the particular host. Then what happens next? When we find these vulnerabilities, the next thing is to actually determine if these vulnerabilities are actually exploitable. Because again, not all vulnerabilities are exploitable, right? Sometimes your tools that you're using might tell you that we have XYZ vulnerabilities. However, when you try to exploit them, you might not be able to exploit them. Again, it might bear down to two things, right? Either maybe your skill is limited, maybe you're still coming up and you're not applying the right techniques to exploit that particular vulnerability, or the vulnerability is not even exploitable in the first place. All right. So based on our exploitation and all that, we can now write a report. So the difference between a pen tester, ethical hacker, and a malicious hacker is that a malicious hacker will never write a report, right? In fact, what a malicious hacker will do is that after, when they are able to exploit a system, the next thing is for them to you know try and perform some kind of persistence. Persistence in such let me just put that here, right? So persistence is to ensure that they can easily come back to that particular system that they have exploited, right? So pen testers, we don't do persistence, right? We don't create backdoors. So we don't create backdoors into a system, right? Our job is to perform security assessment on a particular target and report our findings. So you report your findings, might be executive summary. You have a more detailed technical report for the technical team to be able to remediate any vulnerabilities that we found. All right, but an attacker, a malicious attacker, will never do any kind of reporting. They will just they will just create a backdoor and hide the backdoor very well, so that even your normal EDR endpoint detection and response solutions will not be able to detect anything, right? So when they want to come back, they easily are able to come back to that system and continue further exploitation, either performing some sort of privilege escalation and the likes. All right, so that is it. But we, as penetration tester, we don't do we don't do persistence, right? So imagine you having a gig, and at the end of the day, the organization I found out that, hey, this guy have installed a backdoor to our system. What do you think will happen? You'll be arrested, of course, because if we are not aware, Nigeria has the Nigerian Cyber Crime Act, right? It lists all the various crimes, cyber crime that can be performed, and there are various punishments, right? So we don't want to go rogue with our skill. Instead, our skill is supposed to, assist organizations to, to deploy secure information assets, applications, and servers and the likes, right? Alongside whatever functional testing, right, that have been carried out. So that is what it is. Okay. All right. Okay. So we are going to be, looking at our labs, right? Again, how do we practice this system, this methodology? How do we practice penetration testing? Is by creating our own labs. And some of the resources I sent earlier, before now, like 2 weeks ago, deals with installing VM, that is virtual machine, Kali Linux, which is going to be our attacker machine, and we have our victim machine, which is the metasploitable. So our Kali Linux is going to be our attacker machine, right? Then our metasploitable is going to be the victim, right? So when I mention attacker and victim, please, if I say attacker, know that is our Kali Linux. If I say victim, know that is our metasploitable. Yeah, so the reason why we have this lab is so that we will not go and practice this on someone else's network, right? Because it's punishable, it's a punishable offense in the Cyber Crime Act. All right. So right now I'm going to. So I have. All right. I have my Metasploitable and I have my Kali Linux. I remember last week I wasn't able to even boot my Kali Linux. I don't know why. So I had to install it afresh. All right. So I'm going to power on my Kali Linux. So let me power on my Kali Linux first. Then I'll power on my Metasploitable. Okay, it's coming up. Who are where? Let me see who is here. Okay, I have Olajide. Oh, Olajide, well done, boss. I have Chioma. Chioma, how are you people? Okay, so cancel. Not leaving anyway. All right. Okay. All right. So let me check back on my Linux. So my Kali is coming up, coming up, coming up, coming up, coming up. All right. So now I'm going to sign in. Kali, Kali. It's coming up. All right. Okay. So this is my Kali. Right. This is my Kali. I'm going to come back to this Kali to get my IP address. So let's go to our Metasploitable. All right. So this is my Metasploitable. I'm going to start this guy up. So you can see the Metasploitable. What Metasploitable, for those of us who don't know, Metasploitable is a virtual machine that is deliberately made vulnerable. Yeah, deliberately made vulnerable in order that we can actually, when we practice our cybersecurity, our pen testing, and all that, we can easily, do our test on this particular machine. All right. So we have our Metasploitable. So let me launch it. Now, the reason why I did not launch a Metasploitable simultaneously, I don't know if this is a VMware thing. When I try to launch this other one will fail. So if I launch the Kali first and launch Metasploitable, Metasploitable will fail. I don't know. So that's why I have to just start them up um, one by one. Okay, so this is bad boy starting up. This other bad boy is up. All right, so while we wait for this guy to come up, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open my terminal. Of course, this is our terminal, right? We're going to open up our terminal. So these are terminals where we play. Okay. All right. So this is where we play. Okay. So what do I do here? So what I'll do here is to get my IP address. Now, for those of us who are familiar with Windows, how do you get your IP? So in Windows, uh, let me open my terminal in Windows. So in Windows, we do IP config, right? IP config. Once you press enter, you are going to see your IP address, right? Right now, Ethernet on Wi-Fi. Yeah, you're going to see your IP address. No, this. Okay, yeah, this is it. These are wireless. So this is my IP address for this. So you're going to see this, right? So that's it. But for Linux, it's quite different. Instead of IP, we do if, right? We do if config. I think some of us might not be seeing my screen. Sorry. Why is this guy frozen? My screen is frozen. I don't know why. Oh, let me check my Metasploit. So these are metasploitable. So what I would just do is do MSF MSF admin. This is what we have, right? The login is MSF admin, enter, MSF admin, enter. So right here, I have logged into the Metasploitable, right? I've logged into the Metasploitable. All right, let me go back to my Linux Kali. My Kali was frozen initially, so let me see. Okay, something is wrong. So I'll just do a restart because I don't have the patience to wait. I'll just do a restart on Kali. All right, so while we wait for that, let's get the IP address of our victim, right? So this is a Linux machine. So if config, enter. So if config, enter. So our IP address here, my mouse cannot actually, my mouse cannot appear here. So if you look at the ETH0, I don't know if let me see how my screen is showing here. Okay. Right. So if you look at, good. So if you look at ETH0, you see this inet, right? This inet add this address. So it is 10.16.21.130, right? So what I'll do is to actually take note of that. All right. What I have to do is to take note of this 10.16.21.130. This, ladies and gentlemen, is our victim. Not Victor, victim, right? So these are victims. So now we're looking for our Kali. So our Kali Linux. So Kali. Let's get the IP address of our Kali. Now, why are we getting the IP addresses? You cannot test what is not connected to the network, right? You cannot test or perform a penetration testing on something, right, or a system that is not on a network, especially when you're working remotely, right? So if you're trying to test a system, they say, "Oh, come and test this server in our network, or come and test this server in the cloud," right? Remember, how do you get to the server? There is a an IP address. It can either have a public IP address or a private IP address. Public IP address meaning that you can actually reach it from anywhere from the internet. But private, you have to be in a network, a confined network, a LAN, that is a local area with network, to be able to access it. But sometimes, if you want to work as a pen tester, sometimes you might be working remotely, right? What the organization will just give to you is a VPN. So they configure a VPN for you so you can connect via the VPN. Of course, when you connect via the VPN, it is just as if you are connected. You are in the in the local area network. All right. So what I wanted to do was to increase the view for you guys to see. I wanted to increase the view. Okay, I think there is it shift? No. Okay. Okay, control shift plus plus. All right. So control shift minus minus. Control shift plus plus. Okay. Right. I just hope you guys can see my screen. Can anyone see my screen? All right. Okay. Okay. So All right, so let's get the IP address of this machine. All right. So ETH0, these are IP address 10.16.21.129. So I'm going to put that down 10.16.21.129. This is our what? Our attacker. So now we've gotten that down. So what do we do? Right? What do we do? First thing I'm going to do as a tester is to just what I do is to actually put this in, just open my browser and just put the IP and see what happens, right? Just to know if okay, this server that I have, is there a web application on the server? If there's a web application, remember that web application will be running on ports what 80 and 440, right? So let us see. So 10.16.21.130, right? I'll press enter. Oh wow. That means there is a web server on this machine, right? So this is the web server, right? And these are the web sites hosted on this server, right? So we can see this is a web page. We have Metasploitable, right? And we have different websites on this server. For example, let's look at this PHP my admin. Let me open it in another browser. Let me open this DVWA, open it in another browser, and this WebDAV, open it in another browser. So let's come to this. I don't know why this guy is actually freezing. Why is this guy freezing, for Christ's sake? Okay, so just I don't know why it's freezing, but it's just freezing. So let's just talk for a while before let's see if it will unfreeze. But I don't know what's happening. All right, so over here we see that there is a web server that is hosted on this particular application, on this particular server. All right, so we have different websites hosted. We have a PHP my admin, which is a admin dashboard for PHP. We have our DVWA. DVWA is an acronym for Dem Vulnerable Web Application. We also have a WebDAV, right? So all these are actually vulnerable websites, right? That we can use to learn or, learn web application exploitation. All right. So all these are hosted. So without doing any kind of interaction with this server, right? I know that, hey, there is port 80 open on this server, right? So I'm going to do further investigation on this server, and we're going to be using Nmap, right, to look for open ports and other services that are running on the browser, right? Okay, so this guy have not opened up, so I don't know what's wrong. Let me just restart this guy. I don't know. Let me just restart this guy. So this guy is still up, right? So I'll just ping our attacker machine from here. So currently it's not reachable, so just going to see. Right. So when our attacker machine comes up, this guy will start right. So It's telling us that this guy is not reachable because he's actually offline, right? He's offline. So we're going to come up pretty soon. So just stay tuned. I don't know why that guy is actually. So again, our ping command is what we use to detect if a service is up or not, right? All right, so you can see that there's a change, right? From destination host not reached to, right? There's a change. So there's a communication going on. So therefore means that my Kali Linux is coming up. Yeah, it's up already. So just for me to sign in, Kali. So to prevent this guy from actually freezing, I don't know why. I think I allocated a lot of resources there. So to prevent this guy from, okay, let me just do this. Okay. All right. So we have 10. We have 10. Okay. So these are metasploitable. Then I opened them vulnerable application, right? So these are them vulnerable application is a website that is vulnerable. Then we have the PHP my admin is actually also vulnerable. Then we have our web dev, which is actually a web application. We have multilide, which is actually a vulnerable application actually that we can use to practice, right? So already we know that okay, there's a web server hosted on this our .130. All right. So the next thing we want to do here is to perform an nmap. For some of us, we might not have heard of that word nmap before, right? So nmap is actually uh, is a network mapper. It's a network mapper that allows us to be able to map a network, see services that are running on the network, and those services, the versions of those services, and the likes, right? So that is exactly what we're going to do now. So let me just increase my screen. Oh, well, I just want to increase this. Okay. All right. So we're going to write some nmap commands, right? Some nmap commands which we are going to be using, right, throughout this course. Okay. Right. So now to be able to use nmap, right? To be able to use nmap, there are a series of commands, right, that we can actually learn, right? So let's start from one, right? Okay, so we will start with the command nmap, right? We'll start with command nmap. So nmap is actually installed, as in is a factory installed when you install when you spin up your Kali, right? When you install your Kali VM, nmap comes installed in it, right? Nmap comes installed in it. Okay. Okay. So if you do something like this, right? Let's say we do nmap, right? So this is my website, victormengua.com, for example, right? victormengua.com. I can just say nmap, enter, right? So it now starts to do what? To scan my website, right? I started scanning my websites, trying to see if it can pull up some services that are running, right? So you can see that with nmap, I can use it to, um, to scan a URL to scan an IP address. So we're going to see how we can use to scan an IP address shortly. So you can see that it is scanning, but we don't know what it's actually doing in the background, right? We don't know what it's doing in the background. So I think this will take most of our time. So let me just use what we have. So nmap 10.16. This is the 10.16. This is the address of the victim. 21.130. Let me press enter. It has started. Oh, it was very fast. So it started scanning, and it took about how many seconds? So it has pulled up something, right? What has it pulled up? It has pulled up the ports that are running on this particular machine, on the victim machine, right? Pulled up what is running on the victim machine. And these are the ports that are open on the victim's machine. We have port 21, 22, 23, port 80, which is a very notable port 139, port 445, right? Then there's even web databases. We have MySQL, which is 3309. We have Postgre, which is 5432. So these are the different ports running. There are different ports running. Okay, so remember that we did something like this, right? So when we did that, we don't know what is happening, right? We don't know if this thing is working. The only thing we just saw was, oh, starting nmap, blah, 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 blah. We don't know what is happening. So what if you want to know what exactly is happening, what exactly is going on, what do you do? So there is something called a flag that we can attach to this, -v. So -v is a flag. And what is -v? -v means verbose, right? I'm not speaking in tongues, but it's called verbose. So verbose means that, okay, you want to see what is going on, right? Just give me what you are doing. Just tell me what exactly you are doing. So if you press enter, so you see, it's telling us so many things that it is doing. Though the scan is fast, right? But it is telling us a lot of things that it is doing, right? So it is what we have here, because of the -v, is quite different from what we have here. Look at here. Just say starting nmap, blah, 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 blah. Just give us this. But if you see here, it's giving us details of what it is doing. First of all, it starts initializing the this. Then it started doing a scan, right? Port by port, right? Then it's now trying to do a scan of the first 1,000 ports, right? They're doing a scan of 1,000 ports, and as it's scanning the 1,000 ports, right? It said this. I discovered a port, right? Discovered open ports. Oh, this port is open. Discover port 80 is open. Discover this is open. Discover. So it's just discovering them. Discover. At the end of the day, it now came up with, rearrange everything, give us the ports, give us the state of the ports, and give us what's the service that is running in that port. Again, ports have 3 states, right? The network ports have 3 states. I need to put I need to put network ports so that we will not think it's our soup or stew ports, right? So it is a network port, okay? So network ports have 3 states, right? The network ports have 3 states, right? So there are 3 states. So one state is what's open, just like we do. The second one is closed. Then the third one is what's filtered, right? So a filtered port can be an indication of a firewall or a web application firewall. So it means that, okay, that particular service is behind a firewall. All right, good. Okay, so Now that we know, okay, we've seen that, okay, we can do verbose, we can do this, we can do that, right? So the next thing we can do here, right? We can actually, uh, we can actually scan like a whole subnet, right? Let's say we have 10.16.21, right? Dot, right? This is a subnet. So my own system is 130, the victim is 130, right? So this 130, 200, blah 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 can be a subnet, right? So it means that all the IPs that are under this particular subnet, right? So we can actually scan this particular subnet. We can say, okay, I want to scan all the systems on this subnet. So we can actually do this. We can actually do nmap, sorry, nmap dash v, right? So instead of doing 130, right, I can do star. For those of us who are familiar with all these, familiar with Linux or databases, SQL and all, right? And you do select all. When you want to do all, we do a star, yeah. So we can actually add this, and it will scan all the IP on this particular subnets. We can also scan range of IP. Say, for example, we have 21 dot, well, say 21.1, right? 21.1 to what? 20. So it's going to scan 10.16.21.1 to 10.16.21 what? Dot 20 or dot 20. So that is exactly what it is. All right, that's exactly what it is. Okay, so again, how do we now scan for open ports, right? And the services, the versions of the services running on those open ports. It's quite easy. So we can do nmap. If you want to write a flag starts with a dash, dash, small s and big S, small s and big S, right? Then I'll add a V, a capital V, right? So it's I'm asking it to give me, scan this IP address and give me the services running on them and also the versions of the services. So I'm going to put 10.16.21.130. That is the victim's machine. I'm going to press enter. So it's going to scan. You're going to scan it now. You can see that it's taking a little time to actually perform its scan. All right, good. So there is a difference between, okay, let me do this again. Let me just do this again. All right. So there's the difference between this scan I did, which I use this particular flag that, do like a TCP sync, right? Then give me the service name and the version of the service, right? There's a difference between this scan that I did here and this scan, right? There's a very big difference. Now, what is the difference? Because I have a V here, a capital V here, which means a version of the service. There's another column. Yeah, there's another column here, right? That has all the versions of these ports that are open. Meanwhile, here we don't have that column here. We just have only services or service, right? So this is actually a nice flag that we can have, right? It's a nice flag that we can actually have, right? Because again, that something that hackers normally do is to, first of all, go for the low-hanging fruits. So what do we call low-hanging fruits? For example, low-hanging fruits are, those vulnerabilities that are easy to just target and just get sharp, don't waste enough time, right? For example, we have port 21, which is file transfer protocol FTP that we use to transfer file from our system to a remote server. It has this version of VSFTPD 2.3.4, right? Now, what are some of the vulnerabilities of this particular VSFTPD, right? 2.3.4, right? We can have some vulnerability here. There are a lot of vulnerabilities on this particular listing. Right, so we have some vulnerabilities here. So we have some vulnerability. So again, as a pen tester, we should be able to do our research, right? So we have some couple of vulnerabilities here. Backdoor, right? Most especially backdoor execution and the likes, right? Most of them is backdoor. So if you have this version of FTP installed, attackers can easily install backdoor and gain access to your server, right? You can actually gain access to your server. So that's what it is. Gain access to your server, right? Yeah. So again, okay, all right. So we're going to be using this particular flag, right, and not this other flag, right? So sometimes, or most times, pen testing is not a just one of like you just come do it and that day you finish it, right? Sometimes you have to actually save your scans, right? Because you don't want to come back the next day and you want to now, oh, maybe after pen testing 1, 2, 3, you want to come back the next day to now write this again. It would be nice to have this in a file, right? Where we can, access it and maybe continue what we are doing, because these are very good information for us to carry out our tests. All right. So what do we do here? What we'll do here is simple. So let me just clear out this. Right. To be able to save this to a file, what I'll do, there's a particular flag I'm going to introduce us to, right? And that is a dash N, right? Flag. That is this particular flag, right? This particular flag is what I'm going to introduce us to, right? I'm going to introduce us to that flag. Okay, so what do we do here? So I'll do nmap, right? So I'm going to take this IP I'm going to take the IP of our what's it called? Our victim, right? Then I'm going to put it here on a file, and I'm going to give the file name. Let me give it my victim. My victim is going to be a TXT file, right? So this particular file will be saved on the system. So let me just clear first and just show us what we have. So what I have here, this is what I have, right? Nothing, right? There's no file, nothing is here, right? So what I'll do is nmap nmap 10.16.21.130, right? Dash small, that is lowercase 0, uppercase n, right? I will give it a name, my victim.txt, right? And I'll press enter. So I have pressed enter. Oh, this is not what I want to do. So, but then let me just show you what happened. So we've created a file, this my victim.txt here, which of course we don't have there, right? But let me just remove that for now. Let me remove that for now because that's not what I want to do. So what I want to do is to do an nmap, then this flag, then I'm going to put the IP address of the victim. Then I'm going to put the flag to save the file, right? To save nmap scan to a file. So lowercase 0, uppercase n, then I will give it my victim dot txt, right? So my victim dot txt, I'll press enter. So it's going to waste some time because it's, trying to give us something. So it's scanning right now. That's finished scanning, right? So let's say I did this, and after maybe spending hours doing my test and all that, I'm tired. I said, okay, let me go home and rest, and I'll continue it tomorrow. Then tomorrow I come back. Well, I want to do this again. Remember, in real life scenario, you'll be testing maybe hundreds of IPs, right? So what do you do here? Will you not start to do all these plenty stuff? No. So this is exactly what we're supposed to do. We have to print our nmap scans, the result, into a file. And now we've done that, we've printed it into a file. So I can check my files that I have. So we have my victim.txt. Who can remember how to actually view a file in Linux? We use a cat command, right? So let's do a cat command, right? Victim.txt, we'll press enter. So this is actually what we have in the victim.txt file. Right? Let me do that again. Let me just clear everything. Let me do a cat. Let me cut the file, right? I'll do enter. So you can see that all we have, I don't have to start running nmap anymore to get this. I have it here, right? So that is a more efficient way to actually, work, right? So we're going to come back to this, right? We're going to come back to this. So let's say, again, let me clear this up. Let's say you were given a job as a pen tester to test devices that are connected to the network, right? Sometimes some organization they will not even know what devices are connected to the network. They will not know, right? So how will you know, okay, what devices or what IP addresses are up, right? How many devices are connected to the network? The best thing to do is to use nmap, right? You can use nmap. There's a special flag to test or to allow nmap to get all the devices on the network that are online, right? We call it -sn, right? -sn, right? So in this -sn, what we're going to do is we're going to put the IP, not the IP address, but the subnet, right? It's going to be like a range, right? Yes. So we're going to do like 10.16.21. Right? I am going to do .1/24. Now, /24 is a class of this our IP, right? So if you have gone through the network resources we sent, right? Yeah, so .1/24 encompasses all the IP that will be in this particular subnet, right? In this particular subnet. So we can have .10.16.21.1.2.3 up to .255, right? Yes, up to .255. So that is it. So what this means is that, hey, you're telling nmap to do a scan, right? To enumerate all the IPs that are alive or that are up. So when you press enter, bam. So we're going to now, very good. So we're going to see that it says starting, okay, say nmap scan report for 10.16.21.1, right? If we look at the bottom here, we see that it says nmap 256 IP addresses, right? Possible IP addresses from this range, right? 256. However, out of the possible 256 IP, it is only 5 that are up and online, right? Only 5 that are online. So it's going to print out those 5 for you, right? So you can now see we have .1, we have .6, we have .130, we have .254, then we have .129. .129 here is my Kali Linux IP. .254 is my local machine. .130 is my .130 is my victim machine, right? All these ones are up. VMware, right? They're up. Then .6, I don't know what .6 is, right? So these are the IP addresses that we have, right? We can still copy this IP. We can still do this and say, okay, you know what? I want to have these IP addresses in a file, right? I want to have it in a file, in a .txt file. I'll press enter. It is going to save it in a file, right? So when I do ls-l, you can see when I have this in my and I have this here in my list of files, right? So we can actually work on this to stream it out so that we have only the IP addresses. Then we can scan the IP addresses. All right. So we can actually scan the IP addresses. All right. But what if we have been given IP addresses, right? Let's say the test that we want to do, the company says, okay, this is a TXT file of 200 IP addresses that we have. Please, we want you to work with this file. What do you do? Will you now go one by one and start copying the IP addresses? The answer should be what? No. All right. So let us play with this thing. Let us play with this these IP addresses that we've been given here. Let's play with. So we have. Let me bring this guy out. So we have .1. We have .6. We have .130. We have .254. We have .129. Right. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. So let us imagine that these are 200 IPs. Right. So what I'm going to do here for us is to create a file. Let's say ABC. Okay, we want to create a file and give it. So remember how we create a file, right? So we do nano, right? I'll give it a name, ABC, ABC company.txt. So I'm going to put those IP address. Of course, that's how we're going to receive the file. .1. We have 10.16.21.6. We have 10.16.21.130. We have 10.26.21.254. Then we have 10.16.21.129. All right. So let's say we have these 200 IPs, right? Let me save this I've saved it. So let me do ls-l. So we have ABC company. This is the IP that they've given to us as as a pen tester. So what do? So as a pen tester, there is a flag that we can use to actually work with these particular IPs, right? So for example, we can do nmap, right? Dash. So this is the flag. Lowercase l, lowercase I, and uppercase L, right? And we're going to give the name of the file, right? ABC company, right? We're going to give it like this, right? So I want to actually do something. I also put another flag, dash this, right? So we can see that we can use different flags for, we can actually, add flags as we go, right? So this particular first flag, we've seen it before. So we want to get the we want to get the services and the versions of the services running. We also want to get this from this file. So we have the IP address from this file, right? Yeah. So we have the IP address. So what we're going to do here is we are going to just press enter. Again, I want to save this to a file. Can say ABC company IPs.txt, right? I'll press enter. When I press enter, we are going to wait because it's going to take a little bit longer because we have more IPs now. So imagine you have 200 IPs, right? So you can actually do this if if you actually want. Okay. So we have various vulnerability. Oh, beautiful. All right. So this is what we have. So over here, we can see that we have a result, right? The first IP is .1, and .1 looks like a Windows system kind of, right? So we have these are ports that are open on .1, right? And the services that are running on them. It gives us the OS, that is operating system, which is Windows. Then .6 is, you can see another state here. Okay, close 99 close ports here. And only one of them, port 53, which is DNS, is open. Then we have port 130. We've seen this before. So these are our victim machine. Then we have port 254. Port 254, we see all 1,000 scan ports in this are ignored, are in ignored states, right? So 1,000 ports, they are filtered, TCP ports, no response, blah, blah, blah. You can get that. The same thing also with this, right? Good. If I clear this guy and lists directly, if I do a cut of ABC company IP, right? If I do it, we'll still get the same thing. All right. All right. Good. Okay. So let's go back to. No. Why is this thing overdoing? All right, let's go back to my victim, right? Let's go back to my victim. Let's do a cat victim. All right, so this is my victim, right? So we are going to now do like a kind of introduce ourselves to what we call it you know do a scan, search for vulnerabilities, right? There are different tools that we can actually do scans with, right? We have various vulnerability scanners, right? We have what we call the Tenable, right? So we have Tenable, sorry, Tenable, Tenable.io now, Tenable.com. I think it's .io, or let me check if it's .io. So we have various vulnerability scanners that we can actually use for, scanning, for scanning, right? Yes, we have various ones that we can use for scanning, right? Tenable has one that we can use to try. I don't have that installed actually. We call it Nexus, right? Hold on. Yeah, we call it Tenable Nexus, right? So if you go for the essential, yeah. So if you go for the essential will allow you, to scan, I think 16 IPs, yes, to allow you to scan 16 IPs, right? But the professional will allow you to scan for 32. However, you have just 7 days to actually use it for testing, right? So we can actually download the try out the professional version, right? For 7 days, use it to scan whatever we want to use it to scan, right? Yeah. So there's another one from Rapid7 called Nexpose. So Nexpose is also a vulnerability scanner that we can actually use, right? So we can install it on our system to perform scans, vulnerability scans. There's one again that I also like. They call it Qualys. So they call it Qualys. So we have various vulnerability scanners, right? So this is Nexpose, right? We can install it and use it to, perform our various scans. Currently, where I work, we use Tenable, we use Qualys, right? So you can actually use any of them to scan for that. I don't have all these vulnerability scanners installed, right? So just to show you what you can actually use. So you can use them. You can use free versions. Like Nexpose actually is free version. So, but I think it has a cap on number of IP addresses that you can actually scan. All right. Yeah. So that's what Qualys and Nexpose and Tenable. That's what they do. All right. Good. Okay. So right now, let us see how we can use a tool called Metasploit, right? Remember, we have Metasploitable, we have Metasploit. So what is Metasploit, right? So Metasploit is a tool that we can use to perform some kind of automated, penetration testing, right? There are some tests that will require us to use some automated tools, right? So we don't want to waste our time doing some manual things, right? So first thing first, for us to learn this Metasploit, we're going to look at this FTP, right? We're going to look at FTP and see how we can exploit this FTP. So as an ethical hacker or as a pen tester, after scanning this, right? So I now check, I say, okay, we have port 21 open, right? So why is port 21 open on this server, right? Port 21 is a very, is a very insecure port or insecure protocol. It's FTP. People no longer use FTP to transfer files from their system to the server. They rather use SFTP or this SSH because SSH and SFTP are secured. So if there is any kind of man in the middle, someone is intercepting your traffic, the person will not be able to see what you are sending to the server if you are using a secure protocol like SSH or SFTP. But if you're using FTP, it is actually very vulnerable, right? There is no encryption, nothing. So everything is just going on in naked, plain text, right? So any man in the middle attack could expose whatever you are moving from your system to the server, right? So for this particular machine to have FTP enabled, right, it therefore means that, oh, is that somebody did not do their homework right, or they're just being very careless. And again, aside this FTP, the version of the FTP is very, very vulnerable, right? The version of the FTP is very vulnerable. So what we are going to do now is actually to, to look at this FTP, right? To look at this FTP and see how we can use Metasploit to exploit these FTP, right? Good. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to open another terminal. Let me open another terminal. All right, so I'm opening another terminal now. Let me just make it bold. And of course, let me increase this guy so that you guys can see. All right, so now I'm opening another terminal. All right, I'm opening another terminal. First, remember, if you want to connect to a server via FTP, you do FTP and the IP address of the server, right? So what I would do as a tester is to say, okay, let me see if I can actually connect to this server, right? And see if there's even password, if it's even passworded. If it's passworded, there is something on FTP that is called anonymous, right? Sometimes it's like a default credentials, right, for FTP. So sometimes some people forget to even disable this, that you cannot log in as anonymous. Right, so that's what I want to try out now before we go into our Metasploit. So I'll just put the IP 10.1, 10.16.21.130. So press enter. So you say, oh, I can actually connect, right? Well, it's telling me to put a name, right? So I want to put a name here. So let me put anonymous. Anonymous. Press enter. Whoa, I press anonymous. Enter. Let me now type another password. Anonymous. Enter. Are you seeing what? Are you seeing? You see what I mean? So using anonymous username, anonymous password, I'm able to log in to this server, right? I'm able to log into the server, right? And can do whatever I want to do on this particular server, right? So I'm logged into the server like this, into the victim, right? Let me see. Can't remember. Trying to list the directories, entering extended permission, passive mode. Here comes directly listing, directly send. Okay. Let me see. MSF. Let me see something. MSF. All right. So I can actually send a file from my system to that place. I can't remember how to do that, but I'll just quickly check that. I'm going to send file from local machine server. CP. Terminal. Local machine. So let's see what it gives us. Put login, navigate to the directory, Then use the command put. So this is what it tells us. So let me try something. If this will work, put, what do we have? What do we call that thing? It's a victim. Okay, let me see. Let me see this guy. My victim, right? My victim.txt. Let me see if it will work. It will. My victim.txt. Let's see, will it work? Could not create file. Let me see. Will it work like this? Okay, so it's invalid. So, but then we see what we do. We have right. We're able to log in via the FTP. Okay. All right. So let me show you guys how we can use Metasploit, right, to actually also accomplish this purpose. Okay. Remember, there is a backdoor vulnerability for this particular version. All right. So let me clear this guy. Clear this guy. Okay. So we are going to use Metasploit, right? So how do we start our Metasploit? MSF console. That is how to start your Metasploit. So it's write MSF console, press enter. So you wait for your MSF console to load. That is your Metasploit to load. So we're going to do this and then call it a day. Not too fine. So of course I'm going to share more resources on this, on how to do this, and also show us how we can leverage other tools like try hack me, hack the box to accomplish, to learn further. Right. So we're going to tip view model. So Metasploitable is coming up. It's supposed to be up by now. Yowa. Yowa, 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 yowa. So we have our Metasploitable created by Rapid7. I can use it to do reconnaissance. We can use it to do exploits. We have payloads, right? And loot. All right. So in Metasploitable, this is version 6. So we have about over 2,400 exploits. We have auxiliary over 1,200. We have about 1,600 payloads and the likes. All right. So still coming up. So we have our Metasploit up and running. So our Metasploit is up and running. So what we're going to do here, right? So you might ask, how do you use your Metasploit? So we're going to get some fundamentals on how we can use our Metasploit by what we're going to be doing right now. Okay. So remember, what we are looking at is this, right? So we want to do a search on Metasploit to see the version here, to see what exploits in Metasploit are available for exploiting this. So we have VSFTPD, right? And this particular this particular version. That's what we're going to do now. So in Metasploit, we are going to search. We're going to search VS FTPD, right? 2.3.4, enter, right? So you can see what I did, right? So when you do your nmap scan and you see a port open and some services running on those ports and there are versions, right? Sometimes what I do is to go to Google and just search and see, okay, what are some of the vulnerabilities that are associated with this particular version of this service, right? If I can't really get something, I'll come down to MSF, Metasploit, right? Then I will now say, okay, Metasploit, please search for if you have any exploits for this particular version of this service. That is exactly what I did here. So it's actually plain English, no much writing any code. You can see here we have one exploit. Why is there 0 here? Of course, in programming, right, the computer world, counting starts from 0, right? So we have an exploit actually, right? So we have an exploit for this. So we have this is the name of this is the exploit name, right, on Metasploit, and it's actually a backdoor. It was actually disclosed on this particular date, and it is an excellent exploit. So you can see that is a backdoor command execution. So it's actually going to upload a backdoor via the FTP, right? And so that we can actually, gain access to that particular server. Again, we are working on the attacker machine, right? We're working on the attacker machine. So let me get back to my people and see how they are doing. Who is here? So we have Euphemia, we have Esther, we have Olajide. Okay. If you guys have any question, please, you can ask me, okay? All right. So now what are we going to do here? So I want to use these exploits. How do I use this exploit? To use this exploit, right? We can do use, right? Then I will just type out this. So I want to use exploits /Unix /FTP /VSFTPD _234 backdoor. I'll press enter. When I press enter, you see that things have changed here. Right? Things have changed. Right. So when I press this, I'm telling Metasploit that, hey, you see this exploit here? Please, I want to use it. So immediately our prompt has changed. So it's very different from what we have here. So our prompt, so anything we are doing now is we are doing it with these exploits, right? So now that we have said, okay, we want to use this particular exploit, what's the next thing? The next thing is that we want to see the configuration of these exploits because we have to make configuration, right? We have to actually make configurations. So we have to type what we call show options. We have to type show options, you press enter. When you use show options, you press enter. These are some of the things that you will see. So we have C hosts, we have C ports, we have proxies. We are not using proxies. We are not using all this. The only thing we will have to change here is the arrow host. Arrow host means remote host. We have to put the IP address of the remote host. Then we have the arrow port. Arrow port is what is already set for us because it's port 21, right? So how do we set the arrow hosts, right? So to set the arrow hosts here, we do set, right? We do set, that's a target. We do set arrow hosts 10.16.21.130. Enter. We have set the arrow host. If we do show options again, we can see here that we have set the arrow host, that we have set the remote host or the victims the victim's machine, right? We've set the victims we've set the victim's machine. Okay. Yeah. So let me check something. Let me check the payload. Hmm? The payload that we have. Let me check the payload options. How do we check the payload? Show payloads. Okay. All right. So this is the payload that is selected. So this payload is what we selected. Okay. This is actually very, very, very fine. All right. So the next thing we are going to do is just to type run. All right. We're going to type run and just press enter. Okay. So as we type run, you can see something is happening, but I want you to finish before anything. All right. So you can see from here that when we type run, right? So all the things that we've set here, we've set the victim's machine. Then there's a payload that is automatically what we have automatically, right? This payload that we have automatically, right? We run it and it's exploited the FTP, right? Then after exploiting the FTP, it installed the backdoor, right? Installing the backdoor, it gained root access, right? And it has opened a shell for us, right? It has opened a shell. Now, what we are seeing now is not our system, but it is a system, is a victim system, right? So these are the files in the victim system. We have the boot, we have the bin file, we have the boot, we have the home, which is very interesting, and other. So we are going to the home. So let's cd into the home. Cd home, ls, ls. So we have cd into the room, into home. So we cd into the home and we do ls, and we have this different file, FTP MSF admin service user. So imagine you can see that there's MSF, which is a user here. So you can actually go into MSF, right? CD MSF admin, enter, we do ls. So imagine we have this, right? We have this. All the things we are doing here, we are doing it from our own machine, but we all the commands we are running here is on the victim's machine, right? Because we're going to penetrate or hack into the victim's machine, right? So let me cd into vulnerable, cd vulnerable. I believe that we are going to understand as I enter this vulnerable. So I've cd into vulnerable, I say ls. So we can see here that we have ls. Let me see if I can do this here. So we have cd into ls, and we have MySQL, we have Samba, we have TikiWiki, right? We have TikiWiki. Let me do ls-la. All right. So we've been able to exploit the FTP service, right? We're going to exploit the FTP service. We're going to gain root access, and we can do whatever we want to do, right? We have a shell, right? A running shell here, right? So we're able to exploit this particular FTP service. All right. Okay, so that's what we've been able to do. Right, let me see if I can do what's to go back. Let me exit. All right. Yeah, so I've exited, and able to exploit this. So you can see how easy it is to even exploit this very simple FTP, right? These are low hanging fruits for attackers to actually exploit, right? So uh, we don't want to expose FTPs, right? In fact, we don't want to use any service that is not protected or that does not have any form of encryption. Are you hosting a website or a web application? Please do not use HTTP. Use HTTPS. You want to transfer file from one machine to another machine. Please don't use FTP. Especially when it's over the internet. Use SFTP, or you can use your SSH to do that. All right. So there are lots more we can do with Metasploit, but I've just given us a tip of the iceberg on how we can use how we can actually use Metasploit. Okay, so giving us a tip of the iceberg on how we can use Metasploit, right? So there are other services here that we can actually also use Metasploit for, right? Just to look for the exploits, see what exploits are available on Metasploits, and try to make use of these exploits, right? Try to make use of these exploits and see ways that we can use these exploits, right, to perform a hack on our machine, right? Perform a hack on our machine, right? So all these services, some of them are vulnerable, some are not, right? Some of them are vulnerable, some are not. So we want to cross-check and say, okay, like I did. You see, I used this VSFTPD, this version. I checked online just to see if, okay, is there any vulnerability attached to this particular version? Oh, there is. If there is, then I can actually use that to carry out some tests, right? Some exploits rather, right? So just like I also did, we can search for some vulnerabilities, right? Yes, we can search. Then, for example, see this Pro FTPD 131, right? I can come to Metasploits. Let me go back. I can go back and say search Pro FTPD 1.31. Is there a vulnerability? Search, no result. That means there is nothing, no vulnerability, right? Though there is no module that is on Metasploit that is actually vulnerable to that. All right. Okay. So aside using Metasploit to practice, there are other tools that we can actually use to to practice, right? For example, we have our Try Hack Me, and we have Hack the we have Hack the Box. We have our Try Hack Me, and we have Hack the Box, right? So let's look at Try Hack Me. Oh, okay. It's been a while. Let me see. Okay. Okay. It's been a while. Oh, it's been a while actually. Okay, so this is my Try Hack Me stuff, right? So we can actually use Try Hack Me to learn, right? So if we come to learn, right, if we come to learn, hold on, something is working here. Uh-huh. We come to learn. We have different parts. Let's go to the free roadmap because we don't have money to be paying. So this is cybersecurity basics, right? So we are going to, learn a lot of things. We're going to see different labs that we can play with, right? So we're going to see principles, security principles, and all. So we're going to learn fundamental skills. We're going to learn Linux here. We're going to learn basics of Python. We're going to learn common attacks. We're also going to look at networking here, networking services, then look at how the web works, put all together. Then we now follow different paths. So we have security and wow. Wow, okay. Before now we have penetration test and all, but we have security analysts. So I think they're introducing defense. So we have this, but we're looking at pen tests. So we have pen test fundamentals. We look at all these, right? Even how to use Metasploit and all, right? So we can look at this. Then there are other, whoa, it's even $14 now. Then it was like 8 or something. So we can actually look at some. So if you have the money to subscribe, please do subscribe, right? If you have the money, $14, that's about how much? 20, I don't know. But then if you have the money, you can actually subscribe, right? And there are YouTube channels that can even help you to understand how to exploit some of these machines. Back then, I used to pay $8 for this. I paid $10. I can't remember, but it was something that I actually enjoyed doing. In fact, it's actually helped me a lot. Right? If you can actually pay for the lab, some of the labs, that would be wonderful. Hmm? Of course, but then I think there are simple labs here that you can actually do. Right, there are simple labs that you can. Let me go to this Metasploitable. It's just an introduction to Metasploitable. Yes, just an introduction. So we have different tasks. So you start the machine and they will show you some things to do. You come here and put it and all that. So that's how this is done, right? So you can go premium if you want to. You can go premium if you want to. Jesus, it's been a long time. Okay. So another interesting one is hack the box. Hack the box is another interesting one that we can actually go to, right? So we have our parts. Can get started. But I think you have to even invite yourself, kind of. Right? Say join for free, you can learn to hack. And again, what I want to also say is cybersecurity is not all about hacking. It's not all about hacking, right? It involves so many things. It also involves you understanding, for example, if you're going into web application security, understanding web applications, how to, to perform security analysis or security assessment on web applications, recommend security controls, right, for networks and the likes. So that is what it entails so many things. Then we have our governance, risk, and compliance too. That is very also important aspect of cybersecurity, helping organizations to comply, right, to cybersecurity. So this is try hack me. I believe I share it. But oh no, sign up. Oh, I think I have this thing. Do I still have this? Oh, okay. Have I done anything here? I'm not sure I've done. Oh, I've done a little thing. I even have 6 cubes. Oh, okay. I have 6 cubes. Right. I have 6 cubes actually. Yeah, I have 6 cubes. All right. So this is just the hack the box, right? So you can, there are a lot of boxes that you can crack. A lot of boxes that you can actually crack. There are a lot of them we can crack. You can buy cubes. Cubes will allow you to have access to those boxes, right? Cubes will allow you to have access to them, and you can actually subscribe for the premium version and all that. So it's been a long time I actually did this. I don't even know my way around. So these are modules in progress, available modules and machines that we can actually play with. These are machines. So you can see this one is hard. Please don't try this. And this is the cube. If you don't have 200 plus cube, you cannot. So I have 60. So I have to go for those small ones. See this one, 10 cubes. So as I keep on getting some points and all that. This one is 100. I don't even have it. So this one is actually attacking Wi-Fi. This one is actually network fundamentals, blah, blah, blah. The introduction to red teaming AI. This one is medium. This is fundamentals, right? These fundamentals. Hacking of web WordPress is actually easy, but it's 20 cubes, right? You can actually do this, right? Can actually unlock, and let's see if I click on this unlock, right? So see, not enough cubes. So I don't have enough cubes. I have 60 cubes. So it wants me to do 100 to unlock. Nay. This is Linux. I can actually unlock this Linux, right? And just do uh, batch scripting 50. Let me unlock this batch scripting. So you can actually unlock this. And when I unlock, I can click on start, right? If I click on start, it's going to start up a machine for me and all that. And I'm going to actually, you know, enjoy using this. Okay. So that's just it. So I have spent how many? I have just 10 cubes. So I can actually buy more if I want to. So I can buy more cubes if you want. I don't know how much is cube. Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Wicked. Oh my God. Oh, it's $8. Okay, so you can Jesus. 18. Oh, this is $18. Yeah. It's not bad. 64. Whoa. It is $18. So you can actually subscribe this for per month, or you can go for the annual billings. So I would like to do this for 1 month, and I can just subscribe. Why is this guy blocked? Well, I don't know. Oh, and this is for silver, this for students. So can go with this and subscribe and all that. So we encourage us to go through these stores so that we can just get our hands dirty, right? Yeah. So we have more things to learn, right? But then we also have limited time to actually look at these things, okay? Yeah, we have limited time. So we can, maybe after this class, we go through the video again and we learn one or two things. So there are other persons that have reached out to me. So if there's something you like to know more further, you can actually do reach out to me, please. Yeah. More than available to answer your questions, or probably we can jump on a call and crash one or two issues that you have. Okay. Right. So the resources that we've provided, please, I'd like you to continue looking at those resources. Right. Okay. So thank you. We For next week, I think it's going to be Toby that will come in next week, to take us on some other aspect of this our training. Right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you for the class.
All right, so Euphemia, thank you so much, and do enjoy your nights. I believe the link will be made available to the guys in the group.
Yes.
Thank you. Eh?
Too. We need to
All right.
rewatch
Good
again.
night.
Yeah, thank you. Good night.
Yeah,
Bye.
I know. Yeah, good night. Yeah.